वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्त प्रतिपत्तये जगदपितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं दोर्भिर्युक्ता चतुर्भिर्स्फटिकमणिमयीमक्षमालां दधाना हस्तेनेकैन पद्मं सितमपि पशुकं पुस्तकं चापरेण भासाकुन्देन्दुशङ्खस्फटिकमणिनिभा भासमाना समाना सा मे वाग्देवतेयं निवसतु वसने सर्वदा सुप्रसन्ना सदा शिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् ओम। So by the grace of Lord Krishna, we are on the last day of the Saptaha. There are a couple of questions which we'll quickly see, and then we'll continue with today's. I want to explore more on Gita and other spirituality. Reading books is is not helping enough, I think. How do you find a guru? I think the answer is very simple. You should not be found wanting in your efforts to find a guru. Guru will come to you. So we can't say Guru will come to us and so we'll sit and then switch on the TV and sit, relax. Guru is anyway going to come. I think it's a very important question. I think that we should keep searching. I came to this city. I genuinely was searching for a guru, and it took about 12 years for me to find a guru. Not that I was not looking, and he happened to be about 2 kilometers from where I was staying. So I think this is what happens. If we are genuine in our effort, God will show us the guru only when He has to show. Not a minute before, not a minute later also. So that is what this question is. Please enlighten me about the following. Whether moksha is to be attained or just realized. So moksha is not to be attained. It's a state which will be realized. I think that is what it is, and it is a natural state. If somebody says I am on my way to moksha, he will never reach moksha. It is not like that. We forget that idea and then immerse ourselves in the process. The outcome will be automatically there. So I think moksha will be realized. It is not till yesterday night I was not in moksha. Today morning I became moksha and anything of that. But I think it's a process. The process is the most important part of. Okay, so we have come nearly to the end of the chapter 3, and today, since it is the end of the chapter, Arjuna asked a question, and in an effort to answer the question, there are 7 shlokas. That's how the chapter ends. And this is a very interesting question, because one of the biggest complaint or one of the misconception people have about ancient Indian wisdom is that they say that all these ideas are 5,000 years old. How are they relevant today? So I confront these kinds of questions, and whenever I want to argue that ancient Indian wisdom has shelf life which is infinite. See, newspaper shelf life is 1 day. Today's newspaper is no use for tomorrow. A weekly magazine shelf life is 1 week. A Nobel laureate's paper has a shelf life of about 150 years. But I always argue that ancient Indian wisdom, not only ancient Indian wisdom, I think many of the ancient wisdom in other parts of the world also has infinite shelf life. I use this shloka to explain it. So let's look at the shloka first. Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. Arjuna asks a very interesting question. He says, Kena prayuktaha, who is making him to do something? Kena prayuktaha, somebody is making him to do. Ayam purushaha papam charati. He is asking, why are we committing sins in our life? Sin need not necessarily mean big crimes. Hurting others is also a sin. Speaking ill of somebody, having asuya, all these are sin only. So he is saying, Ata, therefore, he is coming to the end of the discussion. That's why he is putting a word, therefore. Ata, Kena prayuktaha ayam purushaha papam charati. Why is a person committing these small little crimes and sins and so on? Little to big, everything put together. Second sentence is very interesting. See what it is saying. Anichanapi, Icha was not there. I didn't want to do. Anichanapi, hey Varshneya, hey descendant of the Varshini tribe. That is the adjective for Krishna. Anichanapi Varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. Somebody has pushed me into the victim of situation. By force they have made me walk into this. This is a question which will be relevant today. This will be the question relevant 5,000 years back, 10,000 years back. Arjuna asked. This question will be relevant as long as human beings exist. Why? Today something happened in the office. Things were not going well for me. I had a bad interaction with my boss. Things were not all right. I come home. This 2-year-old boy or the girl, very characteristic of a 2-year-old child, it will come and show some tantrums. Download everything on it. All your bad mood, download on it. Or the better half. Just spit fire. And this is one example. Another example is, we respect each other. Not that we don't respect each other. But in the meeting, I overstepped my brief. I spoke a little. In the heat of the meeting, I lose my control a little bit. These are all the Papam Jarati Purusha examples. But the second line, do you know when it comes? That night or next day morning. Why did I do? I should not have done. After all, it's a child. Why did I shout at my wife? I should not have done. Why did he is well-meaning. Why did I talk like that to him? All of us think like that. So, at some level, at a split moment, at that situation, we may do something. And then we will regret. Why did I do? So that's the question he is asking. So this is a very relevant thought. So I always say such kind of situations have been analyzed. So how can you say ancient Indian wisdom is irrelevant today? So I tell my executives, do you have any objection to this question? Don't you think such a question exists? All of them say, sir, this question exists today. It will exist 100 years later also. Then I say, please read Gita. If you want answer for it, read Gita. So like that I casually, in a humorous way I say. But the point is, Arjuna's question is a very, very important question. Right from the simplest crime to the biggest crime, right from all the wrong things that we are doing, which is of small magnitude to the highest magnitude, we will be here all the time. At that split moment we do. Then a little later we ask, why did I do? I could have avoided. This thought comes. That late night when you go to bed or early morning when you get up, there is this feeling. Why did I do? So this is a question which Arjuna has asked on our behalf again. That's why Bhagavad Gita is not about war. Bhagavad Gita is not about some Arjuna talking to some Krishna. The divinity is kind enough. It is blessing us with this knowledge by hypothetically creating situations. Because there is one question people ask me. See, Ravana did so much of mischief. Hiranyakashipu did this, all that in Puranas we read. Then some people ask me, sir, are they not subjected to karmas? Should they also not have to go through a whole lot of the after effects of what they do? My answer is simple. I act as the villain in a drama. Outside world I am a very nice person, very kind hearted, very nice. I don't even speak loudly, but I am a good actor. I am the most cruel villain. So what punishment do you want to give me? Point I am trying to make is these Purana stories, these Avatara Purushas, all these are, in fact, if you read the early part of Ramayana, you will know how Indra sends, Vali, how he sends Shugriva, how Surya sends. The whole thing is orchestrated. So therefore, this Arjuna, Krishna and are all they want to play a game, they want to play a drama because they want to role model and teach us something. If you do a road show, how can you take exception to certain things happening? That it is after all a drama. So like that, these are Puranas and these stories are made because there's a means by which they want to discuss issues, and then they are all, celestial gods who have come with all their grace and kindness and love. They are doing all this. So these questions are for us. It is for our situation and for which they are talking. So let us see what Krishna has an answer for this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. He says, in fact, all of them there is a Visarga. In Sandhi, all the Visargas are gone. Lopa. All Visargas are gone. So when you do a Padacheda, Kamaha, Eshaha, Krodaha, Eshaha, like that. You have to put all the double dots when you do a Padacheda. When you split it. Because it's a Sandhi. That's why the Lopa is gone. So Kamaha, Krodaha. There are two things he is talking about. He says, Kama and Krodha, these two are the ones which are coming out of Rajoguna Samudbhavaha. They come out of Rajoguna. And how are they? Maha Ashanaha. Maha plus Ashanaha, Maha Ashanaha. Ashana is eating. Ashnati is eating. Ashanaha means it's a great consumer. Whatever you put, it will eat. Eat in a very figurative sense. What it says is it will take any amount. Desire, if you get into desire, there is no end. This desire and anger can consume anything that comes in its way. That's what he is saying. Mahashanaha. In Sandhi it became Ashano, Sashanaha. So it became O in Sandhi again. Mahashanaha, Mahapapma. Great propensity to create sin. It has the propensity to create sin. Maha Ashanaha, Maha Papma, Vidhi, Yenam. See, the word Yenam in Sanskrit, the word Yenam is used. If you refer an object or a person or something, if you want to refer it a second time in the same context, you use the word Yenam. Yenam is used in a very concise way. So here Yenam means, Kama and Krodha. That is being referred again. The Yenam is always used for a second reference of the same thing. So, Vidhi Yenam. Yenam means know these two fellows. It is cross-referring to the earlier reference of Kama and Krodha. Vairinam. They are the biggest enemies. They are the biggest enemies. Now, in chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, there are descriptions of Sattva, Raja and Tamas. But I want to give a very simple description of it because then many things will get clarified. Take this room. Suppose in this room there is a rope there near the door. Since the fan is also running, it is curling a little bit. Now there are three possibilities now. This room is pitch dark, or it can be a snake also. Let's say there is a snake or a rope, we still don't know. If the room is pitch dark, absolutely not a streak of light, midnight, I will be at the height of my bliss. There may be a snake there, but I will be jolly well walking here and there. It happens, right? Because I am in ignorance. I don't know that there is a snake. I don't even know whether it is a snake or a rope. I am completely ignorant of it, but I have no tension in my life. Saukya. But this happiness comes, please understand, this happiness comes out of ignorance, delusion. Completely I am cheated, because if I go and step on it, and if it is really a snake, I have to prove my point posthumously. Next Janma, let us talk about further details. That is the situation. But until then I am reveling in happiness. I am walking into, there is this in management parlance, they say the parable of a boiling frog. I don't know how many of you know that. There is something called the parable of a boiling frog. If you take a frog, if you put a frog in a water and heat it slowly, you should not heat it fast. Put in cold water, put a frog, put it on a pan and heat it, it will enjoy dying. It doesn't know. As the heat goes up, it will not realize. That's called parable of a boiling frog. Like that, this is one possibility. So I am reveling in happiness out of ignorance. But I don't know what will happen to me. There is no guarantee of where I am going. Look at the other extreme possibility. Room is completely lit. So I know it is a snake, I will take steps to remove it. Or I know it is a rope, I don't bother. So I am also in peace in that situation. But that situation, my happiness and peace comes out of complete knowledge. In the other case, it came out of ignorance. Here it came out of knowledge. Then there is a third possibility. The room is dimly lit. It's not brightly lit. That's where my fear complex. This is actually a rope. It was actually a rope, but it is curling exactly like a snake. So I worry, what do I do? And I shout for help. Nobody is there. There is no stick around. So I will have to sit down here thinking something will happen to me. Unless or until somebody brings a torch and then, hey, this is a rope. Then I also say, hey, this is a rope. So there are three conditions here. The three gunas are exactly mapped to this situation. The situation where I am in pitch dark and I am foolishly stepping on a snake or whatever it is called tamoguna. Completely deluded, completely dark, but I revel in. Why I am saying this is, sattva guna and tamoguna will look very similar. If you read chapter 14 properly, you will get this message. Sattva guna and tamoguna will look very similar. You need to have this framework to understand. Both of them will look similar. One is out of ignorance, another is out of knowledge. That is a crucial difference. The challenge is the Rajoguna. It is in between. This is where our problem is. So that is called Rajoguna. Rajoguna is one which is what is called, Avarana and Vikshepa Shakti. Shankaracharya in his Viveka Chudamani, he has written quite a bit slokas, about 8-9 slokas on this. I don't want to get into it, but I am saying that Rajoguna is where the complexity of life exists. As this example that you see, the complexity of our life exists only because of Rajoguna. That is why he is saying this Rajoguna is the one which will cause a lot of challenges. Because Rajoguna is characterized by lack of clarity. It is actually this in between the two, that's the problem. If it is complete ignorance, it is one kind. It is complete knowledge, it is another kind. We are in between. That is where most of us are. So that lack of clarity will make us map reality wrongly. That is what happens. Just like a rope was understood as snake, and I really took all kinds of steps until somebody put a torch. That guru gives that knowledge, that is a torch. Like that, in life, we map everything wrongly. Nitya anitya vastu vichara will go. What is Nitya, what is Anitya, what is important, what is not important, what is permanent, what is not permanent. We are in this middle bandwidth. And because of that, Arishad Vargas will happen. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are all part of this deal. This incomplete knowledge, this knowledge which is lacks clarity, which is a work in progress. So the frameworks are all, lot of the frameworks are wrong. Some frameworks are right, some frameworks are wrong. So what we do will be not correct. That is why Krishna is saying, Rajoguna samudbhavaha kama esha krodha esha. He uses also kama and krodha. And in several places he uses also, in chapter 4, there is a 10th shloka. It says, Vitaraga bayakrodaha manmaya mam upashitaha bhagavaha jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. There he uses Vitaraga bayakroda. He says raga. Raga is the equivalent of kama, krodha, and then baya. In other words, the 6 Shadhari Vargas they say, no? These 6 limitations, these 6 sins, bad things that we do are because that we are in the middle path. The frameworks are not proper. So we map things wrongly, priorities of life are wrong. What we should achieve are wrong. Many of these problems come, and that is what it creates. I will take one shloka from Bhagavatam, which beautifully explains that the people in Rajoguna are the troubled people in one ways. Sattva and Tama, one out of ignorance happiness, one out of knowledge happiness. This middle is a problematic character. So he says it in one of the shlokas in Bhagavatam. Yascha Muda Tamaha, that is the Tamo fellows. Muda Tama. This is superlative degree. Mudaha, Muda Taraha, Muda Tamaha. So, that is a superlative degree. Sammuda, Vimuda, like that it is now Muda Tamaha. Okay, superlative degree. So, Yascha Muda Tamaha Loke, which is the Tamoguna variety. Yascha Buddhehe Paramgataha, who have transgressed the Buddhi and gone beyond that. Which means they have understood the truth. They are the Sattvas. Okay? Yascha Muda Tamaha Loke, Yascha Buddhehe Paramgataha. Ta ubau, these two categories. Ubau means both. Ditya vachanam. Both. Ta ubau sukam edate. They are happy. One out of ignorance, one out of happiness. The balance, where are they? That is the last part. Klishyati antarito itaro janaha. Antarito janaha. The other fellows are all troubled. Because they have this lack of clarity. That is what the Rajoguna, that is why Krishna is saying, Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha. This Kama and Krodha, in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Sthita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha, that is a 54th shloka, for which maximum answer that Krishna has given is about sensory control. Right? There is the 61 and 62, famous shloka. It says, Dhyayate Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Upajayate Sanga Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Bijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammohat Smriti Brahma Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. So what happens is, this Kama and Krodha are the fundamental ruining forces for an individual, for a personality. How does it ruin? It takes away your power of discrimination. The Smriti Brahma and Buddhi Nasha happens. So Kama and Krodha, you have to be very, very watchful. That's why Kama karoti naham karomi kama karta naha karta kamam karayita naham karayita. Yesterday, Manyu karoti naham kar. Those two I said Mahanarayana Upanishad. One about Kama and another about Manyu, which is Krodha. I never thought about this shloka. I simply brought it yesterday. The shloka is Mahanarayana Upanishad more relevant here. That is why in our scheme of things, most of our problems start off because of desire. Now what is Kama requires a much bigger discussion. I am not going to do. But I want to remind you to a beautiful definition of Kama. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has given. In chapter 7, in the 10th shloka, Krishna says, Dharma avruddha kamosmi bhuteshu. That's a beautiful definition there. 10th shloka, 11th shloka, 10th shloka I think. He says, Dharma avruddha. All desire which are not in conflict with dharma, he says, I am there. So kama doesn't mean not all desires are bad. For example, if I have a desire that all slum people must be well educated, that is not dharma viruddha desire. That is dharma aviruddha desire, which means it is not in conflict with dharma. The selfishness, what is in it for me, that kind of desire is what is not good, and that comes out of Rajoguna. That all the slum children must be educated and come up in life is a sattvika kama. It is not a rajasika kama. That is a sattvika kama. So kama here always means Rajoguna samudbhava. It blinds your power of discrimination. It removes your power of discrimination. Your memory fails. That is where problems start. That is why he says, they are the biggest mahashanaha. Mahapapma vidhi enam vairinam. That is what he is really saying. So the first thing he establishes is that it is because of Rajoguna. Now he is giving the rest of the chapter, he is giving where is this Rajoguna positioning, how we sit and how do we put our hands a little bit. That's where he actually moves on in the rest of the chapter. But before that, look at this shloka, this Vairagya Shataka, beautiful shloka. What can desire do to you? It says, Bhartrihari says, Bhogana bhukta, vayameva bhuktaha. You keep on eating, if you start liking food, if you start eating food, and if you go beyond control, you are eating your lifetime. That's the meaning. Bhojanam, if you take too much, you are eating yourself. You will get into some diseases, that's the meaning. So it says, Bhogana bhokta. So this enjoyment is not being eaten. I am consumed in the process. I have gotten old now. That's what he says. Bhogana bhokta, vayameva bhoktaha. We were eaten up in the process of trying to consume bhoga. Then he says, tapona taptaha. I didn't do tapas. I wanted to do tapas, indriya nigraha, all that. I kept on talking, I never did it. Vayameva taptaha. Here tapta means scorched. Tapa. Tapta is you are burnt. Over. You are out. You didn't do tapas. The tapas overtook you. Because you couldn't do indriya nigraha. That's what Bhartrihari says. Kalona yataha. This is very true. Time night never passes. We only pass. I mean, this human vocabulary is so intelligent. We say we are, from the day we are born, we say we are growing. I will tell you, please objectively understand. From the day you are born, you are shrinking. You are not growing. Let's say you lived 100 years. That means on the day you are born, you had 36,500 days with you. Next day on you are born, how many days did you have? 36,499. Third day after you are born, you are 36,498. Who said you are growing? You are shrinking. I did not say it. There is an Ayur Rich. We recite in our Vedic class, we recite. The first Ayur Rich in Rig Veda, you know what it says? It says, as sun rises every day, the Kala Devata is cutting one wing from your wings. That's how the rich starts. This Punarjayamana Purana, that is the mantra. Every day, as day passes, one of your wings is cut. These are all not scary pieces. These are all objective things for us to think in life. Veda is objectivity. Vedanta is objectivity. Don't get scared. Think about it. You will know that time at my hand is very little. We will do something more useful. So you should not be scared about all this. That's what he's saying. Kalona yataha vayameva yataha trishnana jirna vayameva jirnaha. There is this beautiful concept called trishna, which is desire, unquenchable desire. He says that is not gone. We became jirna. Going after this desire, after sometimes I became jirna. Trishna never became jirna. I became jirna. This is what kama can do. And krodha and kama are two sides of the same coin. Please think about it. What is krodha? Krodha is a frame of mind where I have a fear. In fact, kama, krodha and bhaya, they are all related forces. What is krodha and bhaya? The bhaya is the first force. The bhaya is the propensity that I may not get what I want. Because of my attachment, the fear comes. Because I wanted something, the fear that I will not get, when I start thinking I may not get it, it becomes fear. And when that I may not get becomes a reality, it spits into anger. So kama and bhaya and krodha are the same force. It's only a continuum. Kama and the parivartana of the kama are the bhaya and the krodha. That's why vitaraga bhaya krodha, he said. Vita means without, gone. He said people who have removed kama, krodha and bhaya, manmayamam ashitaha bhagavataha bhagavaha jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. That's what he said. So that is Bhartrihari is saying, desire, to say that I will consume desire and then start. We will prove ourselves wrong. Mahabharata story is anyway there. Yayati's story is there. I have a shloka from Yayati, I will show you. So we'll move on. Then Sri Krishna says, where is this where is this Rajoguna and how is it? He gives 3 examples. Let's look at this shloka. Dhumena vriyate vannihi yata darsho malena cha yatol bhena vrito garbha tata tene damavrutam. He says this Rajoguna is camouflaged. Rajoguna's very property is it has an avarna. That is why the equivalent is the dimly lit room. It's neither dark nor bright. Why? Because it is shrouded. It is covered. So imagine if these lights are all blocked, then it becomes dimly lit. So the Rajoguna's character itself is to cover the reality and the ultimate truth. That is its job. For that he gives 3 examples here. So what are these 3 examples? Dhumena avriyate vannihi. Fire is covered by smoke. Homa havana marta idare. What you see sometimes the padarthalu, they put a lot of these ahuti ella martare. So at that time you will find the flame is very little, there is a lot of smoke. The flame is covered by smoke. That is the example he is giving. Dhumena, dhuma is smoke. Dhumena, which is by dhuma, it's a third, tritiya vibhakti. Dhumena avriyate vannihi. The fire is covered by smoke. It can happen. So that's the first example he gives. Second example is Adarshaha malenacha. Adarsha means mirror. Adarsha is mirror. Because darshayati, it shows your pratibimba. Its job is darshana. That's why it's called Adarsha. It shows the pratibimba. The bimba is there. Put it in front of the mirror, it shows the pratibimba. That's why it's called Adarsha. So the mirror is covered by dirt. Malena. Some dirt is covered. That's the second example he gives. Then the third example.